All right, welcome everybody. So I'm Lianne Shinton, and today we're interviewing Karin Wright, and she's going to be helping us with website, social media. Got lots of good conversation we're going to have here. Her new business is So Fetch Consulting, and I absolutely love that name. Like it's so memorable, and that's from Mean Girls.
Yeah, totally is.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's
totally is.
very memorable, and it was like, "You're not bringing Fetch back," something like that comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, I just it stuck with me for so long when I was trying to come up with a new name for, this new consulting agency and for social media and digital marketing. And I think you and I have had this conversation before where it's like so hard to come up with like a creative name anymore because there's just so many businesses. And I don't know, this one just stuck with me since Mean Girls is like one of my favorites, of course.
I love it.
Um,
I never realized the broad who is, like, the main character, she's also the girl from that, like, Notebook movie, and I'm like, "But she's so
yes.
sweet in that. How is that even possible?"
Yeah, she's Regina George. She's my
Yes.
favorite.
And
She's my
it's so
favorite.
interesting you said about coming up with a name because I'm in the process of a name change. So yeah, it's wild out there. Like I can't imagine what the World Wide Web will be in like 10 years because I found that like every name you came up with, some squatters probably sitting on the
Mhm.
.com and it's just crazy.
Yeah,
So
and same goes for, like I always tell clients if you're thinking about your name and your brand, you have to do your research and go across all the platforms of social media too. So yes, the domain has to be available. What about the handle on Instagram, the page for Facebook? If you're going to go on TikTok or LinkedIn or anything like that, you have to go through the whole gamut of checking all of it to see if it's available or if you're going to come up with some other, iteration of dashes and lines and, to make it yours.
yeah, I think too, if you're like a local dog training business, which we're going to talk about dog trainers today, you can leverage that name in your local market and have good SEO traction, most likely. But what if you want to move? I've moved. I moved from Toronto to Las Vegas to San Diego, and now I live on the road in my RV everywhere. So, like, you don't want to limit yourself in a name to be like Nashville dog training because I love Nashville. But then what if you want to move? What if you have to move? So you've got to think about a name that it's great for SEO because it's city oriented, but it also could hurt you if you ever want to move,
Yeah, totally.
which you
It's
have.
really, really
You've
annoying.
moved.
Yeah, we have also moved. So if there's any listeners or watchers out there that don't know, I actually, I'm a dog trainer. I've been dog training for 20 years, right? And so I have also gone through different iterations of names. I actually started as a dog walking pet sitting service in Chicago. I was a positive influence, right? And then I was the driven dog. And then I took the driven dog with me when I moved from Chicago to LA. And then I started, I had a large training facility that I took over that was called Whiskers and Tails, that was sort of generic. And that was problematic because it sounded great, but there was also a local rescue that was called Whiskers and Tails. And we would get calls all the time asking if we would take stray peacocks.
Oh,
People would find
yes.
peacocks in their yards and call us, and we're like, no, no, wrong Whiskers and Tails, right? And so minor inconvenience, and this was, almost like 10 years ago or something like that or more, where like, SEO was big, but it's not like the crazy monster that it is now. So yeah, there's lots of things to consider in building your brand, right? And it's just sort of goes beyond just picking like what sounds good today, right?
Yeah, it's a wild world out there with the WWWs. So let's talk about dog trainers and some of the mistakes or improvements that we can kind of talk through for their websites.
Yeah, so right now I'm doing a lot of website builds for sure and a lot of website rebuilds. I certainly started SoFetch Consulting because, I think a lot of us do this, right? Like I just had to learn so much of the marketing on my own. And yes, I've hired people to do our SEO and SEM and things like that and Facebook advertising, and we've made mistakes. I've learned from them. And so when it comes to websites, I think it's really easy to just think like, okay, we just buy one either. You can build it a free one off of like Wix or Weebly or, something like that. Or you can hire someone to do a little bit more complex one on WordPress, or I really like Squarespace is my personal favorite. Um, so we throw our information out there and we kind of go, okay, it's done, and we leave it alone.
Yeah.
And it really does go beyond that, right? Like we have to imagine that, okay, so let's say someone does, go on the internet, they look for you. They're looking for probably not specifically you. They're just looking for who is in their area who can offer them this dog training service, right? So we have to think about, what are they putting into their search query? What terms are they using? That would all be like the SEO stuff. So let's say they finally land on you, they find your website. Now they're on your website, and it's sort of like, if I go through someone's website and I'm auditing it, I want to know from a client perspective, how quickly can I get in contact with you? How quickly can I find the information that I'm just like, right? I'm probably searching on my quick 5-minute break, right? Or I'm running literally to just grab a glass of water between clients, or, whatever, between meetings. And I've got 4 seconds. I remember, if I go home, my partner's going to nag me because the dog is still really annoying. Right. So you have just these few moments to really capture someone's attention, right? Get them interested, get them invested, looking at your stuff, and then now what? Right? So that's when we start talking about like, okay, do you have a call to action, a CTA, right? That's like a call me now, schedule now, free evaluation, book here, something to be like, make it easy. Make it easy for your very busy potential client to get a hold of you, right? So okay, now they've clicked it. Okay, I'm gonna send this person an email. I've typed in my quick notes. Here's my name. Here's my email. Here's my quick, like, I've got a dog. His name is Blue. He bites me in the face. I don't know what to do with him. Right. So now that lands in your inbox, and then what? Right. Because now your client, in their mind, they're your potential client anyway, in their mind, they've done it. They've done their part. Right. And
Right.
so if you aren't following up with them in a timely way, then you've just lost that lead entirely. Right. And I think that's probably where, like, with your business, you're like very dog trainer specific CRM, which I don't know if people know what CRM really stands for. So maybe you should go over that just a bit, because I find a lot of people do ask. But that's where like a really good CRM is so vital, because again, I'm not just trying to promote your business, but like, again, from a potential client standpoint, I've found a client, or I'm sorry, I found a trainer. I'm interested in them. I've clicked, right, the call to action. Now I'm waiting. You've got to have follow up. You've got to have sometimes a lot of follow up, because again, these days distraction level is so high, people forget. Right? Like,
Absolutely.
I'm even guilty of it, and I know what the system should be, right? Like I've been trying to get my van fixed for I think 2 weeks now, because I forget, and then it's end of day and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I've got to put the kids to bed. Like I'll just call them tomorrow." And then who
Right.
knows what happens the next day.
Yeah, it's good
So,
to tie automation to that part because, I mean, nowadays, I used to say like you have 10 to 60 minutes. Now it's like 3 minutes. It's crazy. But I liked what you were just saying about like looking at it from the client's perspective. So I just wanted to share a little bit about my experience the other day because, as I mentioned, I live on the road in my RV. So we travel around. We obviously have to book campgrounds. And, we're like kind of getting bitten by bugs over here on the East Coast. And there's this humidity thing that we're not used to. So we're going to be heading back to the West Coast, and I had to book in Flagstaff, Arizona, a very small city. So SEO wise, it was pretty easy to find multiple campgrounds through the different places I like to check. And I was looking at night, I had some time and I'm like messaging through the contact form. One person messaged me back that night. So they were like top of mind. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going back to their website. I'm reviewing the pictures and I'm sold. I'm like, this is great. So that was cool. And it was good that they just emailed me because I didn't really want a phone call at like, 9 o'clock at night. So, having to consider that, like sometimes reaching out through email or text is better than maybe a phone call if it's a certain like weird hour. The next day I did get a bunch of emails back, and I found that only one person called me out of all of them. And when she called me, that was cool. However, I couldn't understand the name of the business. So I was like, I've got all these emails. I, of course, I'm very organized and I put them in a folder and I'm, okay, which one am I going to choose? And, the one that called me wasn't even in there because she didn't send me the email. So now I have all your competitors here. So I think that's something to be considered too. And definitely like your presentation on the phone, like, hey, this is, my business, and make sure you're very clear because like you said earlier, what is the client's experience? What are they experiencing? We need to think through all of that. If they do get your voicemail greeting, what does that sound like? Have you phoned yourself in a while and listened to it? Because maybe it's really long and, maybe you got the wrong website on there or something like that. But ended up, and I'm getting to a point that I thought was kind of cool. Out of all the places that I'd emailed, it's a campsite, like it's not rocket surgery. I ended up choosing the most expensive place. And not that camping is expensive, it's like $48 a night, but their website is luxury. I mean, it would just, I'm like, I have to book here. It's, to me, that's pretty reasonable. And I was like, this place looks phenomenal. The website was like luxury. So even though I had cheaper options and cheaper looking websites, but I'm not that person. I want us to be very happy. We're going to be there for 5 months. Oh my gosh, this place looks amazing. And I think like getting your feedback on like the presence someone has or the, what people are perceiving when they look at your dog training website. Are they seeing like a thrown together like Wix site that's not very functional? Or are they seeing something that's got some cool photos and it's like a little bit more like amazing? Wow, it might be expensive, but it's worth it. And then you're attracting that type of clientele, which might be better because you're not getting clients that are like, I want my money back.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And I think, again, that these are all things we want to consider when we're thinking about our personal brand, because I think for some people, they might do better with that, like, what we call like a Walmart shopper, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe they feel more comfortable talking to a Walmart shopper. Maybe they know how, a Walmart shopper thinks and operates. And so they can sell to that person better, solve their problems better. They understand their lifestyle. And then there are the people that like, they don't want the Walmart shopper, but they want like the Rolex shopper, right?
Yeah.
Like the guy that has 3 Rolexes in his house. Like for me personally, someone who has 3 Rolexes and is like that type of client is kind of actually intimidating. And I don't do well with that person, right? Like I'm like middle, upper, average, right? So understanding who your target audience is sort of number one, right? And that's like, marketing 101 is just like, who are you talking to? Right. And so when I do these audits, everybody's kind of like, I want everybody. I want
Right.
everybody's money. And yeah, obviously, like in an ideal world, but that's just, again, everything. Our attention spans are so short and there's so much information and so many services and businesses out there now. Like, compete for who you think you're going to sell best to, right? Find your niche, find your target audience. And so if you decide that, you want, you picked your target audience and it's not the Walmart shopper, then yeah, absolutely. You have to think in terms of who that audience is, get really deep into their persona, their lifestyle, their daily, what makes them tick. And then build your entire brand for them. Right. And so your
Wow.
website has to speak to them. And so, yeah, you do have to consider, like, for you, if you were my target audience and I had this RV, yeah, you just told me, right? You're like, I would rather pay a little bit more. I'm going to be there for 5 months. I want to be really comfortable. Cell phone pictures are not going to do it,
Right.
right? Like, cheesy copyright is not going to do it. Hey, I'm Chad from so and so, and I love my place, and you're going to like it too. Like, that's probably not going to get you, right? You want to know about, like, are there luxury amenities? Right? What's included? What is trash going to be taken out for you every day
I
because
like
you don't
that.
want to see it and you don't want to take it out yourself. Right? So you really have to make sure that everything is catered to you. Um, so yeah, all of that is important, but again, then it comes down to, response time, right? So it's like you said,
Yes.
um, look, we all know. I always kind of say, like, I don't want to talk to a client and warm them up for another dog trainer to take.
Right.
Right. So that's kind of what happened to you, right? Within
Yeah.
your RV campground search, is someone else warmed you up to it. You started like doing your deep dive. You started going, oh, I like this. I like this. I don't like this. And I don't like this. then as you talk to more people, your list was sort of like shifting to someone that suited you better, right? But it took someone who got into your inbox first and foremost, they warmed you up. And so that again, I'm coming back to automation because it's super important, right? You want to stay top of mind. I wonder for you if that person that emailed you right away
Mhm.
that evening that you did your search, I wonder if they had reached back out to you again before you booked or something like that. What would
No
have
one
happened?
did. None of them. They all I don't know if all of them responded because I just messaged a whole bunch of people and I'm like, "Whatever,
Right.
we'll see what happens." I got a bunch of responses back and no secondary follow-up. They ghosted me.
Right. Right. And again, one of them could totally have taken you from wherever you ended up booking, which was like the most expensive one. But if one of them had called back and just had an I don't know, a nice text exchange or sent you more information. Oh, actually our website is outdated. Like here's the new pictures and they were lovely. Or hey, we're actually running a promo, right? Like it's I don't know, some really sweet deal you couldn't turn down. 3 months get two months free or something like that. Right? Like
Yeah.
they might have actually gotten you. And so that automation is important. The constant touch points are important,
Yes.
right? And it's just about keeping your name top of mind. So maybe like you, like I'm sure you can't even remember the, I don't know, five campgrounds you interacted with, right? And so again, if I'm looking for a dog trainer, I'm probably I might go on Yelp, I might go on Google, and I'm just like call, text, email, text. Wait, then you finally get on the phone. You're like, wait, we've all gotten this call, right? Hey, this sounds great. Wait, which business is this? Who am I
Exactly,
talking to?
yes. That's why it's good to send an email too, so that if all the other competitors just send an email, you're in there with them. If you're just the one that
Hmm.
called, but then no email, you could get a little lost in there because it's like, which one are you again? Um,
Right.
Back to one of the things that you said earlier about really like understanding your exact market. So I just wanted to share when you were saying that, what I was thinking was I work really well with like the fur mummy types that are have a soft dog and I don't like at my age I'm like I don't want like big Connie Corsos and St. Bernards that like might kill me and stuff. And I find that sometimes like a guy has a stronger presence and it's a little like different interaction. So I feel like my target would be like the softer dogs, the fur mummies, the people that might cry under another trainer. I'm pretty good with those people, but I can also be blunt and to the point when needed. But I can coddle a bit. So whatever website that would inspire you to create. But is that kind of what you're looking for in your clients? Is
Yeah, totally. Right. Like it is very much, like if that's your target clientele for your dog training, yeah, then I would want to build a website that feels soft, that uses language like I want to support the fur mommies and you want to call them your fur babies and you want to use words like that, right? Versus if you're not, if like I personally like I'm listening to you and I'm like you can take them. I don't I don't want those clients. Not that, again, at our experience level, all the years that we've been dog training, like I don't want the Cane Corso that's trying to rip my face off either. I've had those, I've done it. That's for someone else now.
yeah,
Um, and I don't necessarily want to deal with like the super macho guys that have like, the German Shepherd that's like a show line, but like they're like it's gonna do bite work or whatever, and they show up
father
in
was
the
a police
tactical
dog.
harness.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Like, oh yeah, all that stuff. Like, I don't necessarily want that either. And so, like, so I'm gonna avoid the images where, like, yeah, we do bite work and we do work with law enforcement, but our Instagram pages, our website pages, it's not laden with that at all, right? Like, we barely mention it. We barely even put our own pictures of our own Dutch shepherds and our mals in there because we're just not trying to attract that type anymore. We are going to do it naturally anyway because it is a breed that we're very experienced with and we do talk about them, right? But the guys that are like only looking for like I want the most macho, like I want my dog to be like this all the time, just on and mechanical. It's for a different dog trainer and that's okay.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So yeah, this is a good conversation just for to help all of us dog trainers like kind of identify our target and who we work well with, and we don't make cry as much, things like that. Um, So yeah, that definitely good information. What does the audit look like? The audit of a website?
So I basically want you would send me an email, and I do want it in email format because it's my most organized way to do this, right? And so I just want like what digital assets do you own, right? What are your platforms? So your website, your Instagram handle, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, your Pinterest, like whatever you have that has your brand on it. Even if it's your personal one, but your clients interact with you quite a lot there, because that happens with some of us too. Send it to me and I'm going to take a look at all of it. And I can probably bet that from there, I can pull who you're trying to access, who you're trying to
Mhm.
target, but you may not, right? I recently did an audit for someone. I won't mention who they are, but they had a very specific like book theme, right? And it's a popular book series, but it was clearly book themed, right? And they were trying, and I could tell this person was very into this book theme and all that stuff. And while it seemingly had nothing to do with dog training. And so her copy, her pictures, nothing else sort of like really like blended well with that book theme. I really told her, I was like, I think this is a missed opportunity because I think this is a book series that a lot of people are fans with. And even if they were not direct, like hardcore fans, they're like at least adjacent, which means they know about it. They can fan a little bit, they're familiar with the storylines. And, I really recommend for something like that is just go all in, right? Like make it cohesive and really dive into that book theme and take advantage of it, right? Even if it's as silly as
Yeah,
it sounds, right? So,
it stands out. It's
yeah,
unique and it's
yes.
memorable.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, then we talk about like the bigger pieces of digital marketing. Like now we're talking about SEO. What about your social media strategy? We can take all of this and sort of like extend the reaches through it. And again, make it very niche and make it very memorable and keeps you top of mind, right? Even if you don't have the automation, like what you guys recommend, right? Even if you don't have the automation, you might remember like, oh yeah, that one, like my favorite book series, or like I just watched that TV
Yeah.
show movie that was related to it, that's, or maybe you even named your dog after a character in the series, right? Like these kind of things really connect.
Just like So
And
Fetch
being
Consulting, like it stood out to me and I'm like, "Oh, it's from that movie." So, yeah, definitely.
totally, right? Like I think that again, like if I'm going to talk about my own business, like I am absolutely targeting, like I would prefer to work with women. It's not that I'm excluding men. It's just I have found in my experience, like in my era that I'm in now as a mother, like I'm in my village building era. Like I cannot stress enough how I want to build community. I want to be supportive. I want to be collaborative, right? So my clients, I'm working with them. I want to teach them. I want to educate them on how and what and why I'm doing it because I don't want you to have to rely on me forever. I want you to have the basis. And if you
Mm.
want to outsource it, that's fine. I'm happy to do that for you, but I want you to, essentially not get screwed over by someone else who comes in and tries to throw glitter in your face and say like, "Hey, I can offer you all these promises and all these leads and I just want you to have enough know-how to be like, "Great, that sounds wonderful. How?" Because I sort of understand the steps. So how are you going to do it? What's your process? That's awesome. That all sits well with me and I can, feel comfortable paying you money and let you sort of set it for me and automate it for me. So I am absolutely like with the SoFetch, I'm trying to capture, people of my age group. We all sort of watched Mean Girls at least once, right?
Yep, few
So
times.
so yeah, so speaking of it, I think if you look at my website, if you look at my social media, like all of my messaging, all of my copy, all of my images, I am pushing towards this, this persona. It attracts this type. And that is all with intention and with some strategy for sure.
Yeah, the name of the business, and then when I went to your website, like I was telling you earlier that, like, just the colors, it's bright, it just attracted me, and it was memorable. It was very memorable, one of the green colors. I know it sounds silly, but I was like, I can see it in my mind, so very memorable, and that's what you're going for. What do you think with, well, I would just wanted to make a comment on my experience because for 100 years that I've been training dogs, like I don't know, almost 40 years now, I've never put prices on my website. Now I have put a starting price on the website. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. My perspective is I want to give a lot of information on my website to keep them there. I want to have, some call to action, like you mentioned, that's really important. We're funneling them to a booking or a call. But I don't want to give too much information away so that they're like, great, they have these programs, they're these prices, they do this training methodology. So they have all the information and then they just don't contact you. So it's really important for me with like the CRM that we're capturing. And so we want to hold back on a couple like items, like the pricing is a good one because that's something that most people are looking for. And just trying to capture that information. Also, just to touch on it, is methodology. Like pet owners, dog owners, they don't understand. Like, they're ignorant to it. And it's our job as dog trainers to teach them. So putting just too much information about your methodology, it may just confuse them. It's better to just get them in. Just keep it simple, get them on that call to action, and then you can talk about your programs, your pricing, and your methodology during the sales call. That's just my thoughts. I wanted to hear what you suggest.
Oh, I totally agree. I don't put pricing like for all of our dog training. The only time I put pricing on the website was when I actually wanted to create a little bit of a bottleneck, right? So it was with intention. So the strategy was I'm getting more leads than I can handle.
Yes.
And so let me just put the prices out there because, again, we all know like a lot of the leads are just like, how much?
Yeah.
What I find though is if you are not swimming in leads and you don't have a wait list yet, don't put the prices on your website. Or you can put something a little bit generic like starting at,
Yes,
right? Just to give
definitely.
people, like sort of a baseline. But if you put some very specific prices, what happens is you create sometimes like a sticker shock and you're giving people that like, ugh, that feeling of like, there's no way I can afford this. There's no way I want to afford this without having that connection, right? Without giving the chance for yourself to discover, right? What it is that the client needs to be able to talk to them. They may actually find that your services are actually affordable. They just don't know the value in it yet, right? So like
Yeah.
price versus value, and they may not discover that value until they have a chance to talk to you and you have a chance to figure out what it is that they need. Right. And so I don't recommend putting the prices on there. As far as like the amount of information I put on there, I sort of like want that sweet spot of just enough. And you have to be careful not to do it in like dog trainer lingo, right? Just enough to be like, okay, I understand as a potential client, I understand what this business is all about. I understand the types of services they offer. I might even understand like, are they positive only? Do they use balance training methods? Are they e-collar only, etc.? Maybe I can at least understand those basic points of it and still be interested enough and find it easy enough to click through, right? That CTA, call to action,
Yes.
right? Click through, get in contact, get more information. Once I have the opportunity to talk to someone, that's, it's all about generating the leads, right? You have to get the leads because that's the only way you're going to convert them to sales. No one, right, is ever going to look in this day of like digital marketing and Google searches. There's not a single person that can go through just your website alone and be like, for sure, this is the dog trainer I'm going to hire.
Exactly. Yes, you've got to reach out and have some kind of communication. And an email could be a really sharp email
Mm.
that's just really professional. And that's where ChatGPT can come in. Like with our software, you can just, pre-write some of those things like what's your pricing? Do you guys use shock collars? Where are you located? And just pre-write it, customize it before it goes out so it sounds personal, but it's super like slick, it's just going to be a
Yeah.
really nice message. And that was the message I got from that luxury campground. And it was just, wow, this is so well written. And I look for stuff like that. So the other, the font, everything was just like, oh, this is the one. But it's just stupid little stuff like that. But that's a touch point, and we want those touch points to be reaching out, like you said, to that specific niche, those specific people that you're targeting.
Yeah, I think this is probably a good time to point out, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, is that marketing is not sales and sales is not marketing. They sort of like butt up really close against each other. But marketing is sort of everything that you just described. Like, oh, the font gets me, the color lingered with me, like it just gave me the right feels. Marketing is exactly that. It's just about like giving the people the right feeling to want more, and then you go from marketing, right? So the marketing is all about like, how do I capture the leads? Now I've got the leads. Now we're pushing them into sales, which is converting, which is actually like convincing you, because yes, you can have a very pretty website, but you still needed the information. You
Yes.
still needed to know, like, well, where is your campsite? Like, how many spaces are there? I still need the details, because again, you could be very pretty, but if you tell me you have 8,000 campsites and I'm going to be one amongst 8,000 and you're one person that's managing the campsite, like, I don't believe you. I don't care how
Right.
pretty your pictures are. I don't believe you. Right? I don't believe I'm going to get the services that you promise.
Now
So
let's
they go hand in hand.
I wanted to get a little bit of information from you too today about social media.
Oh, fun. That's like my
Your passion.
it is so my passion. Just because with like SEO or like SEM, so SEO is search engine optimization, SEM is search engine marketing. So it's the keywords, and then it's using the keywords and paying like Google ads and stuff like that would be like SEM. Um, all of those things, they work and you do need them, but they take time to know if it's working or not. But social media is almost instant, which is why we all love it as users too. Like, it's instant gratification. And so, specifically talking about Facebook and Instagram, Meta has created this, amazing concept with their marketing and their ads. You can see all of your details, right? So like your ROI, your return on investment, and all that stuff is immediate. You can see how much you've spent. You can see how many clicks. You can see the engagement. Engagement is number one on social media. So it's that like immediate satisfaction that really gets me, because I'm able to change my strategy like in real time. Right. So I love social media. I find that most people struggle the most with social media, because I think everybody has like a concept of like what it should look like. And, they're sort of like chasing the wrong things though. Right. So I know a lot of people will chase followers, for example. It's like one of my biggest examples. Um, I think we need to think about chasing engagement more than followers, because I think of it like I could have 30,000 followers, but Instagram already tells you, these are facts that they're like letting the public know. They're only showing your information to 5% of your followers,
Mm.
right? And so yes, theoretically, the more followers you have, the bigger chance you have of getting your information in front of more people. But if you're just yelling to all of these people, if they're not listening to you and they're not looking at you and they're not paying attention and they don't care about the information that you're putting out there, it still doesn't matter.
Right.
Right. So it's this like false sense of like, I think I'm doing well,
Yeah.
but are you really? Right. But what I chase is engagement. So every time I put out a reel for Blackwood Canine, I don't care about like how big my followers grow from that reel. I care about how many people viewed that reel, how many people shared the reel, right? And how many people like clicked like or commented, right? So those are engagement points. The engagement points make it personal. The engagement points boost the algorithm so that they keep pushing your stuff out there because it's working. It's keeping people on their platform, which at the end of the day, that's all Meta wants, right? Is they just want people to stay in their app. So if you can make content that keeps people engaged, that's like the key gold.
I wonder if you could do something cool, like if you found like a local influencer in your area. I've seen big businesses do this where they'll actually pay an influencer to come out and do a video or two about a new RV or a new boat or something like that. Instead of paying to run a commercial or for ads, they're just paying the influencer. They're all expenses paid. You come out and you get first dibs on seeing all this stuff we have. I wonder about like having a local influencer come out and this is my story. These are my dogs, and we're going to Blackwood Canine today, and let's see how it goes. And then having that story with them sharing, if that would be something cool.
Totally. Totally. It is part of like a whole, social media strategy for sure and there's so many different like, oh my gosh, we could get so nerdy into all of this, but like there's so many different types of influencers actually, right? There's like your big content creators. Those are like your big accounts that like they don't really promote anything on their page other than like themselves, right? Like they are the entertainment. Those would be like your content creators. And then you have your like micro influencers, and then you have your brands, and then you have your photographers, your videographers. They all sort of have a place in this grand scheme of playbook strategy, right? Is what we call it. So yeah, you're right. So like but it's like sort of choosing the right influencer, choosing the right accounts is really important. So I
Yeah.
wish I could say like the nerd in me is like, yes, get the influencers, like get content shared across platforms. That is all great. But the nerd in me is like, but let's be more specific. Let's be even more targeted. Right. So
Yeah.
again, if I'm thinking about you and like your fur mommy target clientele, rather than just targeting the pet store, I might specifically want to find like, where's the pet store that only sells tiny dog clothes? Right? Like
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
maybe that pet store is a better micro influencer or a better partner
Oh my
than
God.
just, like the local like feed store, right?
Yes. Yes. I do notice these dog trainers, like, I noticed that David with Blackwood Canine, you guys are putting out some videos, educational videos and different things on YouTube. Oscar Mora, he's been putting out videos. I'm sure you've seen Joe Cintas. It's been some amazing videos, and I think it's gonna be pretty saturated soon, but I
Mhm.
think getting in on the early train to get those out there. I mean, there's some talented people out there. I'm not one of them, but it's pretty cool. It's fun to watch. I guess one
That's
of the
thanks.
things I always worried about is being too showy about the e-collar or something because I wanna wait and get them in and then explain it, you know? So those are the things that I'm always so cautious about, and it creates such limitations where it's like, well, I can't create a video if my dog has, like, a leash on because, you know, stuff like that. So I feel like that is changing a bit. People are putting videos out there and pictures and stuff with e-collars and things like that, and but it's not, from a sales standpoint, it's still not exactly the way I'm comfortable because I really just wanna get those people in and explain about the e-collar and things like that.
Yeah, I think that that gets a little bit touchy for sure because there's like now you're sort of pulling some politics into it, maybe even.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's a tricky space. And I think at the end of the day, if you're not comfortable with it, then you just shouldn't do it.
Yeah, that's me.
Right. And for some people, they're very comfortable with it. Like it took me a while. I wasn't always comfortable with it. I was absolutely like, people don't believe me, but if you knew me from like 10 years ago or 15 years ago, like I was not about self promotion. I did not want to put videos of myself out there. I did not want any criticism. I didn't want any critique, whether it was good or bad. I just wanted to kind of be like, let me train the dog, leave me alone. Um, but again, if you want
Yep.
to be successful, it's the unfortunate part of being, a business owner, right? Is you do kind of have to like shift with where the market is taking you. And that doesn't always mean, like putting yourself out there and making these videos like this. I've gotten very comfortable with it. I think if you go to the Blackwood Instagram page, you'll see there's a lot of videos of me like ranting or, like David being goofy or silly. We are very comfortable with it now. That was not always the case. If that's not comfortable for you, don't do it. There are so many other content ideas. But again, that's part of like, you've got to have a whole strategy playbook. Hmm. Um, Oscar is very comfortable putting himself out there. I think a lot of people love and engage with his videos, but there's a type, right? Like if you watch his videos versus watching like Blackwood's videos, I think there's a clear, like we're hitting different targets.
Right.
And that's the beauty of it is you start to realize that we actually can all work together because we can all have different niches and we don't have to be super competitive and always feel like I have to copy them or or they're going to take my idea, etc. Like we really just are like running on parallel roads, right?
Yeah.
So
And back to your audit, because I thought that was great. I mean, I was sold. I'm like, "Can you audit my website? Can you, help me with my website to target those specific people?" So you said folks would send an email. Maybe show your website so we can see, because
oh,
we are talking about
okay,
websites here. And,
give me a second here. I'm going to pull it up and then we will.
is the audit a free option?
It is a free. Okay, now I've got to screen share. It is free. And so it's like our first start point. It basically just gives me idea of like, well, Who are you? Who do you want to be? What are you trying to do? Where's your business currently? Right? Because I think setting the correct goal is really important too. I know everybody says I want more clients, obviously, but like how? What kind of client? Are you ready for this? Do you already have a wait list? If you have a wait list, maybe we don't need to add more to it. Maybe we need to talk about expansion and scaling your business, right? So that you can take, a longer wait list more effectively.
Yeah, and
Okay.
for some of the dog trainers may not have a website. They're definitely out there. Some may be new and need a website, and then others it may be time for a fresh website. How often do you think dog trainers should kind of redo their website?
Not necessarily redo their website. I think that's just sort of up to you. But I like to do quarterly audits on websites. And that's really for like the SEO stuff. If and then in doing the quarterly audits, of course, if there's a new image you want to update, better wording, or your programs have changed, that's a good time to go ahead and make those changes. But when I do my quarterly audits, I'm really looking for like, are my keywords still good? Are they still relevant? And then I'm checking my links. So that's again, it's like an SEO sort of a techie conversation, but you want to make sure your links are working. You want to make sure hit the call me, hit the email, contact us, fill out the form, test, whatever you want to
Yes.
do. Make sure it's working, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make sure if you come across a glitch or something like that, like you want to know about it. You want to get ahead of it before your client's like, I don't know, I tried to reach out to you.
Yeah,
Um,
I've definitely seen where, especially around the holidays, like for if you have like a call to action of like book now, you can book a phone call, to talk about your dog. If you only allow 2 weeks out for availability, which I think is great because you want to get them in as soon as possible. You don't want to let them book a month out and then they no show on you because they forgot about it. But around the holidays, when you're maybe closed for 5 days here and 5 days here, check your website, check that call to action, check that calendar. So you're not like putting out there that you have no availability basically. So just be careful of things like that.
Yeah, that is for sure. And of course, that's, checking the calendar, making sure if you've got calendars that sync or something like that. Like I
Mm,
have personally made this mistake where like, I don't know, I'll take a trip to LA or something like that and it didn't affect the business, but then I put it in the calendar and I'm like, oh shoot, I blocked off the entire month by accident.
yeah.
Right. So I'm like, why have I gotten no calls? And it's like, yeah, dumbass, because you said you were not available for an entire month and you're just sitting here.
We've all done it.
So
We've all done it.
let me hit screen share here.
And as you're looking for that, I think one thing too is a lot of people don't look at websites on a desktop nowadays. They look on their phones. So that is a big thing to consider to make sure that website is super slick and functional and the buttons are in the right places on your
Yes,
phone.
absolutely. I think most people actually, I can't remember the percentage offhand now, but I think most people are actually doing at least their first search on a mobile device. And so you want to make sure it looks good on both, an iPhone and an Android phone. If you've got
Mm,
a friend that's using an Android and you have an iPhone, like borrow their phone, tell them to go to your website and ask them, right? Like, do you see any glitches? Is there weird spacing? Is it missing a button? Um, just a really quick, sort of health check on it. Okay. So okay, I've got this shared. Hopefully, is this working?
yes, I see it.
Great. So, yeah,
Ooh,
this
I
is
like
just
that.
my
Text
website.
me.
Yes. So
That's
I
smart.
personally, I don't do call me anymore. I find that mm, I don't know, like it's like the day and age, right? Like most people would prefer a quick text.
Yes.
And so yes, it's less formal and sometimes it can be less professional feeling. But most people again are doing this on the quick fly and they don't have time to dedicate, 10, 15 minutes to listen to you, try to sell them on something or get more information in a call. And so putting a call me sometimes can be a little bit of a bottleneck funnel there. So I like text me now. Email me is the same idea. You just have to make it very easy for them. Again, think in terms of your potential client. They are busy. So for me, because again, my target market is sort of someone that's in the same life stage as me. Like I'm a mom, my 5 and my 3-year old, like I can't call anybody unless I want to scream
Yeah.
over Bluey in the background. Right? Like, or get interrupted with no more snacks. Like, just text me.
Yep. I'm the
I,
same.
I want to be able to text.
I rarely call a business ever. I prefer texting. So I
Yeah.
think that's pretty
So
common.
yeah, super. So everybody has a flavor for, sort of like a design flavor. My websites definitely have a flavor. I like very simple, very to the point. Again, I like to think that most clients and potential clients are like me, just busy and boom, boom. I need to get the information and get out of here. So this is mine. I've just got a really brief um, image there,
Oh,
and then I kind
that's
of
what I was looking for. Get your
the
free.
screen.
Oh, that's a social audit report. Would that include like a website audit?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean,
Okay.
I put on here a social audit report, but absolutely, it's just a digital marketing report.
Yeah,
Again, I
like
want all of your digital assets.
I think I'm hyper focused on website, but a lot of people do connect through Facebook and Instagram. So that is excellent that
Yes.
give that whole scope.
Yeah. So a lot of people I
We
found
do, and
don't
we
even
do
have
effing
websites
well.
anymore.
We do effing well. It's totally speaks you. I get it.
It does, and that's where I really go. Again, I encourage people to be very authentic and genuine. Um, this is who I am. If you hop on a call with me, this is what you're gonna get, right? I'm gonna drop a swear or curse word in there somewhere. It's bound to happen. If you come to my website and you look at this and you say, "Oh my gosh, she said F and well on her professional website," you're not in my target market. We are probably not going to collaborate well, and that's okay. That is totally okay. Not all money is good money. So again, these are just personal pictures I've taken. They really have they don't like necessarily speak to social media, other than like social media is about aesthetics. So I took it as an opportunity to showcase some of my personal aesthetics and my personal flavor, because again, I think that's important. If you come to this website and you're like, I don't know, let's say a CPA, and you would like me to make a content strategy, but like you're very, let's say you want to target someone who's like stiff, blue collar, doesn't ever swear, like look at the aesthetics,
Right.
like it's probably not for you. That's okay. So, I'm going with some of the bright, vibrant colors. Um, so yeah, it just goes down. There's, one picture of me here, I think. And then just a quick little, this contact us as an email. And then I always, again, you want to make your CTAs very easily accessible. So if someone has made it all the way through to the bottom of your web page, you better put a contact us here, because I don't necessarily, especially on a phone, want to scroll all the way back up to look for something up top.
Absolutely. Yes,
So
definitely. Definitely. That's the most important thing. And make sure that it's functional for you. Because, like what Karen's saying, is text me works. I'm going to get back to you. It's going to be the best. Fill out this form. It's going to be an email. And that works best for you. Because if you're putting your phone number on your website and it's not connected to any kind of automation where there's a missed call text back or anything, and you're not calling people back and you never answer the phone, you may want to think through that call to action, maybe a calendar booking, something like that.
yeah, Leanne, I've got to tell you that that was probably one of the biggest selling points that your CRM had for me. Is I notoriously do not pick up calls when they come in, and it's a personal thing. Like David doesn't have any problem picking up a call in the middle of whatever he's doing, but I am someone who's very much like, oh my gosh, like I just, have 5 minutes here and I really have to pee. So like, what if I'm stuck on this call for 20 minutes?
Yep.
I'm thinking about all these things when it could have been a 2-minute call. I don't know, but it's going to deter me from picking that call up. And so I'll often just send it to voicemail, but then I've got to remember to check the voicemail and to call them back in a timely fashion and hope that we don't play phone tag for 6 days or something like that, which has happened.
Yeah. Phone tag's a
So
nightmare.
oh my gosh, the worst. And so, with your CRM, knowing that like every missed call, it gives me so much ease to think about, because with your CRM, if I miss a call, it immediately shoots them a text message back and the voicemail, which like double whammy, right? Like if you're a texter, great, I got you. If you're not, also great, check your voicemail, right? And then it like sort of checks in with them. So it truly was like a lifesaver.
Yeah, I'm the
So
same. I hate talking on the phone. It's a challenge. So, did you want to show anything on Instagram? I see you got the page there, and you
I,
mentioned some of the
mhm.
the videos that you guys have done. And do you have any of those available?
Yeah, so, I'll go to Instagram and I'll just go to search. What I like to show more often than not, I'm going to call out Oscar Mora here just because we were talking about him earlier. And sorry, Oscar, this is not to say anything about your social media because it's really doing super well at 36.3 thousand followers, right? But what I sort of like to point out is I often will go when I'm checking the health of someone's social media is yes, I go here and I look at how many followers they have, but I'm also looking at like their post cadence. So how often are they posting? Is it consistent? Do they forget about it for 3 weeks and then try to come back and reclaim some by posting, 5 in a row or something like that? That often, Instagram and Meta don't like that. They want to see consistency, right? And so the nice thing with seeing this on a desktop view is if you just hover over, you can sort of see the engagements right away without clicking to the post. So like 191 taps on the heart, likes, and 2 comments. That's pretty good. 920, 19 comments. This is really good.
I think the
Right?
Crocs drew me in, and then the dog's wearing the boot. I'm like, oh, is that a Croc? It just drew me right in.
Yeah, I mean, see how that got you? And
Yep.
then if you go to, hopefully this isn't going to take over with the sound, but if you go to Reels, same thing, you can see the views right on the bottom.
Oh
Right. So
yeah.
like 31,000 views, that's amazing. 2,000, 4,000. So you can kind of get an idea just scrolling through really quickly, whether you're looking at your competitor or someone that's aspirational to you, right? You should be able to do both. Look to see what's working for them and what isn't, right? I see this one's got 31,000 views. I don't know why offhand, but I would probably watch this video and I might compare it to, this one that's only got 909 views. Like, what might the difference be, right? So then if I go to search and I go to the Blackwood one, what I really emphasize here is that we only have 3,092 followers. But if you look at, I'm just going to go to Reels for ease here because I don't want to keep this call too long. If you look at our engagement, it's pretty good considering our follower amount, right? And so this is where like this is like, I've worked on this content strategy obviously for so long now. So I've got it down pretty well. And so you can see, yes, some of ours are boring and only 862, but like, 13,000, 3,000, almost 4, you keep scrolling, 5,000, so we get into like the 5, the 4, the 6, 13.4, 21.9. That's me being silly. People seem to love that. But this is what I mean. I love social media because you get instant feedback for what is working and what isn't, right? Go in those reels, look at your stats, look at your competitor stats, look at, a dog trainer that's maybe in your area that you love, that you just aspire, and you want to be them when you grow up. Like, look to see what they're posting, what they're not posting, what's working, what isn't. And that can be really helpful for you to just sort of get a little bit better clarity on, okay, well, let's say, for example, Oscar was my direct competition. He lives, 3 blocks away from me. I might look at that one post that he did with the Malinois and go, well, people love Oscar for, when he posts him working his own Mal. I can't compete. That's okay. You don't have to, right? Let me go in here and post something different and see. So I'm going to go in mine and go, people love to see me being goofy and making, making fun of myself and poking fun of myself.
Yes.
Great. I'm going to stick in that route. That's fine. Right. So there's really no competition that has to be had here.
Yeah, I think
Um,
find like maybe you can help people too, like find what your magnet is, so that you're not trying to like copy someone else's inauthentic, but find out
yeah.
what's, but you've got to enjoy it. Like you probably to get it done like one a week or something. I think there's a commitment level to get these out there.
For sure. And that's where, again, like be comfortable with yourself, right? If you don't
Yeah,
like to do what I do, which is being silly in front of the camera, that took me becoming a mom to be like, screw it. Like,
that's awesome.
to kind of throw that out the window and be like, screw it. Like, I'm being goofy out here, at the playground with my kids anyway. I might as well record myself. If you're not comfortable doing that, that's okay, right? So, like, having a content strategy, and that's absolutely something that, I can help you put together. I have a very comprehensive content strategy playbook that I put together. It includes, like, this is your very detailed target persona. this is your very detailed like life in the day of your target persona. Like, let's really get in the head of this person. Where does this person shop? Where do they look? How do they like to have their media presented to them? We really get into the nitty gritty. And then I also look at your competitors. So I choose 3 competitors and I do a deep dive on a competitive analysis so that we can see what's working for them, what isn't, what white space are they leaving for you, right? Like, what road are they leaving completely untouched that you could maybe comfortably travel down? And then I can help
Mm,
you with content, because I do feel that a lot of people, like, maybe they're like, well, I would like to, I just don't know what to record. I don't know what content to put out there. Um, so, I can definitely help with that and creating content calendars so that, down to the literal day, like, hey, it's Monday, record these 3 videos, very specific, right? And this is the copy. Like, we can get really, really specific if that's the help that you need, right?
that's
Um,
cool.
but yeah, getting that out there is super important. So like, Leanne, if you don't want to put e-collar out there, we don't have to.
Yeah. No, it's
There's so
definitely
many other ways.
this is just such a good deep dive. I'm glad you showed everything on Instagram there. And, you see it, you see these very talented people, but it's great to have a resource like you, because I'm sure that some of those, big Instagram or TikTok profiles that we watch in reels, there's a whole team there. So it's
Oh, for
cool to have
sure.
access to someone like you that's passionate about this and is actively doing it. And yeah, what a cool thing. This has opened my eyes. I was all like, you need a website, you're good. But yeah, social is huge and we're all on it every day. It's an addiction.
It
Take
really,
advantage
really
of it.
is. But I really want to just, to make clear too, like, don't get like, I think it's really easy because social does obviously have a lot of cons with it too. And I think it's very easy to look, if
Yeah.
you're like if you're a small trainer, you're just starting off and you have 70 followers on Instagram, and then you're like, well, I aspire to be like Oscar. And you look and you're like, there's no way I can keep up. You don't have to, first of all. And, Oscar doesn't do this, but if you're looking at some other one, really look at the numbers, right? This is not dog training related, but I had another client in the fashion style sort of industry. And she sent me, someone that she really aspired. And she's like, I want my Instagram account to like be as close to this one as possible. And when I looked at it, yes, there were like, I think 70,000 followers or something on that account. But when you look at the engagement, all of the engagement were in the like low double digits
Mm,
to maybe like it never broke 1,000 for views. So there can be lies on
right.
social media, but those lies can be found. You can see the metrics and you can kind of take a look at what is the real story behind this. So don't get too caught up in like just the follower numbers or like how pretty the pictures are. Some of it can definitely be a facade. And, again, I promise you, if you just kind of stick with that, like have a very strict strategy and know where you're going with it, like it will pay off. I can promise it.
That is awesome. Yep. This has been a great deep dive into social media today and a lot about websites too. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I don't know. I just want to remind people to get automated because it's so important to stay top of mind. I want my dog trainer friends to do well in their businesses. So get automated. If you can't do an automation service, just set yourself some daily reminders like, hey, call Steve back. Check in with Steve. See what
Yes.
Steve is doing today. Is Steve ready to
Yeah.
book now?
Yeah, follow-up is so important. I think using a landline is kinda dated too, because there's limitations there, so if you wanna get away from a landline, maybe can get with me and we can help you with that. Because you can use AI, you can use, an app for that, and there's so much, like, if a client sorry, I'm getting in the weeds a little bit, but if a client messages and it's on a landline, they can't text you. If they leave a message, your phone's not buzzing in your pocket. So if anybody's out there still using a landline, like get with me. We will help you to get more automation there because there's definitely like an addiction to our phones. And when it's buzzing in your pocket, you're going to get back to your clients faster. So definitely like bringing your business into your cell phone is really helpful.
Oh, for sure. It's annoying, but the nice thing
Yeah.
is if you have a little self-control, you can also set it down.
Yeah, and that client, that may have just slipped through the cracks, that could be a $10,000 sale if it's like a 2-dog board and train or something, they want your best package, so, I mean, that's a
Hmm.
lot to slip through the cracks.
Yeah, for sure. So Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm so thankful, and the automation has been a game changer.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Karin. So, if you want to go get your digital space audited, go to SoFetch Consulting. Is it .com?
Yeah, it is.
SoFetchconsulting.com with Karin Wright. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne.